I'm Jackie McDougall, and this is the Grown-Ass Woman's Guide. Welcome to this bonus episode of the Grown-Ass Woman's Guide. By now, you know I am so passionate about uplifting other women, empowering each other to live our most badass, grown-ass lives. This podcast is just one of the ways that I do that. What you may not know is I actually lead groups of women through my signature programs to help them do all sorts of things in their lives. Things that they thought were only dreams, things that they put on the back burner for other people, or things they felt like, sure, I'll get to that someday. Someday is here, my friend. So in this episode, I want to introduce you to Renee Bowen. She is a professional photographer. If you've ever seen the Grown-Ass Woman's Guide branding, she is my go-to when it comes to photos. That's for sure. But she's so much more. What Renee did that is so amazing is that she took her expertise and her experience and she created an entirely new future for herself. Now she coaches women all over the world, and I just so happen to be one of those lucky student/clients. So this week I had a conversation with Renee on Instagram that I thought was really powerful. And so I wanted to create this bonus episode so you could hear it too. And I also want to invite you to join me for an exciting new venture. I'm going to tell you about it at the end. And if you're interested in being one of those 10 women, reach out to me. Okay, so let's dive into the Instagram Live I did with Renee Bowen. You've always been someone I have looked up to as a friend.
Someone, ditto.
You do the things, you're like, this is what I want in my life. And then you do the thing you want in your life. And you have shown me by example that like, it doesn't have to be so sticky and tricky, right?
Yeah. You got to do it messy most of the time.
Yeah. And so I've watched you become this incredible photographer, in demand, just crazy amazing, and then start to teach other people how to do the same, and then start to teach and coach creatives and just totally evolve as a human being and as a business owner in ways that just light you up. And as a friend, it's amazing. And you'd think it would be enough just to watch you and then just like take the little nuggets that you leave as you do your thing. But I knew I needed more. And I was like, I need to hire that woman. And I will say, if you're watching this and you have a friend who is a coach and you admire her, pay her and hire her. Don't expect her to continue to just giving you the nuggets without really honoring and respecting what it is she does. So Renee, I knew
thank you.
Yeah, I knew that I needed more, and the things that I needed from you required an investment in myself.
Yeah. Well, that's also what happens though, like, right? Like that's why, like when you know that when you feel like called or like interested in coaching or a program or something, that's a sign, right? That like, I'm ready. You have to have that first. You can't force somebody into coaching, right? I mean, like the person has to be ready. And so that's definitely like a sign that, okay, it's time to do something. And it's also a sign that you are ready to leave that comfort zone, because no change, obviously, as you know, can ever happen in a comfort zone. And that's what a coach does is it not just holding you accountable, but pushing you out of the comfort zone because you asked for it.
Yes.
So it's like, to be careful what you ask for. But that's what most people end up needing, right? With coaching is not just like, yes, we can kind of come up with strategy, like organization, whatever it is, like you're struggling with that person can help fill. Mm-hmm. But it's really about like, okay, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to leave this comfort zone. I can't do this by myself. Right. And so that's why I think it's important. And as far as like investing in even like you said, like friends, like you have someone that you already know in your universe that you know, like, and trust, investing in it, in the program is a really powerful thing for a lot of reasons, I think. Well, first of all, it's because, well, obviously when, you pay someone just to focus on you, you get a whole lot more attention,
yes.
right? I mean, like that person can like really build a program for you, customize it for you. That's what I love about one-on-ones. Because I like digging in there and like really finding out like what's going on with that person specifically. It's no side, you know, like not everybody has the same business. So, and as you know, I take into account things like human design and personality and all that kind of stuff, because I really do think it has to be customized. But I also think it's because when you make that statement to the universe that you're ready and you invest in yourself, that's powerful. That's like a really powerful statement to just put out there, to hold yourself to, and you start holding yourself to it in a different way than you ever did before, because you know, like it's scary for a reason. But that fear is coming up because it's time. And so the investment in itself is a powerful thing, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've signed up for all the things, right?
Yeah,
I've signed up for, you know, all the free emails, which, you know, there are a lot of people out there who are amazing and you can get a lot from, you know, what they offer, their generous free content. I've also signed up for a lot of courses. I've spent thousands of dollars in DIY self-paced courses where I would follow, in theory, the course and then be ta-da on the other side. That is not how my brain works. My brain is not, it's not aligned with those courses. Like I find every excuse not to do them. I don't necessarily receive the information. Like I need to work with a human who knows who I am. And who can say, if I say I'm struggling with A, B, and C on Monday, on Wednesday, they're like, hey, did you do B? Did you do C? Like, I need that particular, you know, accountability. I need community. I have a whole MAC method that I need and that I provide to my students, which is mindset,
I love it.
Mindset, accountability, and community. Those three things to me are the special sauce, right? The secret sauce to being able to show up and keep doing the thing. And so you've created like what you have with your senior photographers, you know, I've watched you and I watch what you've been doing and I'm like, this applies to anything. Like I know it's for senior photographers, but I would say that to you, like this information that you're giving is for any creative, any entrepreneur. Like if you're not following Renee and do that now, but you have so much to offer for free. I knew in my gut that if I invested in myself and in coaching with you, the sky is the limit. And it's proven to be true.
That's awesome.
And I don't sit in that, like, should I, shouldn't I? Like, I didn't understand my human design. I've had it done before. But when you told me, you know, that I'm just meant to be doing things, like that's actually a really great place for me, not planning, but just doing, trying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's really about leaning into your strengths and not trying to fit into something else. Right. I mean, like if you've been on social media for a second, you've been sold to like millions of times, like already. And there's so much, you know, saturation in all of these markets as well. And so it can get really like muddy, right? It can get really hard to figure out, what do I really need? Like, do I need to do that? Like we get really in our own heads. And most of us, from working with so many different creative entrepreneurs over the last, you know, several years, and myself included, knowing like, you know, we overthink ourselves out of really good decisions a lot of times. And it's the overthinking, it's that thinking brain. And so, you know, obviously in coaching, we work on strategies for all of that. But again, everyone is different. Even inside of a group program, I like to run my groups even small, right? Because I find that I still really want to be able to connect and do hot seats and like figure out what that person is going through. Because even if it's like a group of photographers, let's just say, you know, there's going to be different, you know, not everyone's business is the same and not every person is the same. So like I get everybody's human designs when they join my groups, and you know, I kind of like go through, and that's just my brain. That's what I love. I lean into that stuff. But a lot of people, that would make them insane, right? Like, so it's about really like honoring, having that self-awareness. And I'm all about like whatever tool that we can use to get more self-awareness, and leaning into like what lights you up, right? And if it, like you said yesterday on your, I love, you know, like if it's not a hell yeah, it's a hell no. No, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
And I think with like age too, like I've noticed like in my 40s, that's when it really started to hit me that I'm not going to lend my time and energy to something that doesn't make me happy, right? I'm not going to try and fit into somebody else's mold. So I think it's important to at least know those things about yourself. Like you were talking about before, about knowing that you needed someone to like check it. Like a lot of my you know what I mean? Like every one of my students is different. That's why I love like Voxer, so I can like check in with you guys at different stages because I know what you need. And right. That's what a good coach does. A coach is not there to like give you the answers and like, here's the plan, do it exactly this way. That's not what it's about, right? Yeah. It's about like poking you enough to get it to come out so that you can see that you did it, because yes. it really has to come from you.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Absolutely. And whenever I see someone who's like, follow my blueprint, like, listen, if you're teaching a very specific thing from A to Z, a blueprint might be good. But when you are trying to help a woman uncover what's underneath and allow her to give herself permission to show up and blow the lid off of her life, you know, she doesn't need a blueprint. She needs the right questions to ask her and the support 100%. Along the way so she can make those changes.
Yeah, it's all about the right questions. I love that. And I love what you do inside of your programs and your audience in particular, because I mean, I do get a lot of, you know, women at that stage of their lives as well, but just usually they come to me for business coaching and they realize very quickly, like, oh, I just really need to get out of my own way. And you had the same experience. Like people would come to you for podcasting and they're like, but I really need this.
So, totally. Even in my, go ahead.
I love that. I love that you're willing to like look at it and lean into that and realize, because that's where your strengths are too. Like that's one of your bigger strengths, is realizing other people's superpowers and like getting them to like see it themselves and shine.
That's my favorite.
And I love that. And you're so good live. Like you're just so good, like on the podcast and live and with people in person. A lot of people aren't like that. And so, you know what I mean? Like those strengths are really important. So
yeah, you know, I noticed, well, thank you for all of that. I'm like, oh, thank you. As a podcast coach, I realized that I was teaching, you know, podcast specific information 20% of the time. And 80% of it was, yes, your voice matters. Yes, you should put yourself out there. Yes, what you have to say, the world needs. Yes, like all of the things. And, you know, you don't have to listen to the what your mother told you when you were 6. You know, you don't have to listen to your judgmental neighbor. Like all of that, like uncovering everybody else's stories or this expectation that you have to be who you decided you were 10, 20, 30 years ago. That's the stuff that I loved. Oh, it was like so incredible to watch these women shed themselves of all of this BS. And I discovered very quickly that it wasn't necessarily which mic. Listen, I'll tell anybody, you want to DM me which mic to buy and
exactly.
You know, which podcast platform to use. Like, all right, fine, send me a message. But that's not what the women who came to me, that's not where they began to shine. And one of, like you said, like one of my favorite things is talking with somebody. I'm pretty intuitive. And so for a very short time, and I'm like, oh, that's what's special about you. Like, you're not even seeing it. You're not even, or maybe you see it, but you push it down. You're not acknowledging it. This special, magical side of you. And the world needs that. And so helping a woman identify that and then bring it out into the world, it's like,
it's awesome.
It's the best thing ever. I mean,
it is.
It's addicting.
It is. It is. I'm telling you, I get so much from coaching too. Like, you know, sometimes I come home and, you know, my husband's like, how was your day? Whatever. And I'll tell him I had like, you know, 3 back-to-back calls or whatever. And he's like, aren't you exhausted? And I'm like, no, actually, I'm like kind of on fire. Like I need to go for a walk, because like it actually, you know, it's not draining. And that's how you know also that you're living in your design, that you're living in your purpose, and that you're following your joy. Because when you lean into what you love to do, it actually gives you energy. It doesn't take it all from you.
Yes.
And so many of us have been programmed and it's not our fault, really. It's just like the society and just the way the world has been for so long, is that we just get so programmed into thinking that we just have to kind of do what we have to do. And, work is supposed to be draining, and we're supposed to live for the weekend, and we're supposed to be exhausted every day. And it's like,
so Gen X.
I'm sorry. It's so Gen X of us to think that. And the world has shifted a lot, I mean, like, we can talk about that for days, but specifically in the last couple of years, that's one of the coolest things that I've seen happening, is that people are starting to like realize, no, I really don't have to do that. Like, I don't have to adhere to this, like, crack the whip and, like, be unhappy until the day I can retire.
Yeah.
Life is too short for that. I just really, love, like you said, like, helping people realize what was already there. It was already there. It's not like you're giving them something that they didn't have.
Exactly.
It's almost just like you're giving them permission to open up to it and lean into it and follow the joy. It's really all about following that. I mean, anyway, but I can go on that for days.
Well, it's so true.
Yeah, it is. And we both see it in different ways, in different, with our groups and things like that. But I think it's universal.
Absolutely. And for me, just to go back to the grown ass thing, like, it's a combination, right? And so I think, I was talking about in my Instagram reel yesterday, we think that every decision has to be that hell yes in the body, right? And I love that. And I subscribe to that. When I think about making big decisions in my life, like, what do I feel in my body? Is it a hell yes?
Yeah.
If not, and at the same time, sometimes we have to take steps that don't feel hell yes in the moment in order to get that hell yes. Like, every step you took to be the success you are today was not hell yes all the way. You had to do invoicing, Oh
yeah. You've got to do like the ins and outs, and you've got to be good at what you do. Like, you've got to hone your craft, whatever that's going to be, right? Like, so you've got to you got to put in your 10,000 hours, right? Like, that's one of my favorite things. It's like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to for sure. There's going to be steps that you have to do. But I think that it's also really important to realize that, yes, I have to do this, making a plan, right? So yes, I have to do this now, but when I can, I'm going to give this away, because that's not something that's going to light me up. And that's not going to be something that moves my business forward in the long run. Right. Yes. So these are the things that I really definitely could give away, and I can't wait to, right? And that's part of that whole manifestation of it, because it's hard to get yourself, a lot of us, in that position of thinking, well, I have to do it all by myself. You don't really. I mean, in the beginning, when you're building and you're trying to be scrappy, you probably do, but it's not a forever thing. You can definitely get to a point where, and that's just the CEO mindset as opposed to the employee mindset. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I've been doing that lately with your coaching, and I'm excited to help other women do that as well, because when I have a team, which is crazy. And whenever they reach out to me and they get, and one of the things I think we sometimes get stuck with is it has to be my way or no way. And what I've learned by having other women over 40 around me on the team, they do it different ways. And I'm like, oh, I think that way is actually better, And so I think the last 2 years, we could talk for an hour about control, right? We thought, inaccurately, but we thought we had control. And then the world blew up and we don't have control. We never did, but now it's we know that we don't. And so to be able to take some of the things off of our plate that really don't even need to be on it. There's no prize at the end for those who suffered the most, for those who struggled. Get off the struggle bus. There's no prize.
No. And that's just that programmed, and I think it's a very codependent underpinning of martyrdom that I think a lot of women, especially women our age and older, have adhered to, because that's what we were taught.
Yes.
Not on purpose. It's not something malicious. I think that it's just there. Yeah. And it's sometimes really hard to break that, right? Because you don't even know, well, first of all, you don't even know, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know that's what you're doing, it's hard. But that's why that self-awareness is so important to, like you said, work with other people, and not even just work with them, but be around them in groups and things like that. You can start to see, everybody's a mirror. I'm a really big believer in that. We're all mirrors for each other, right? So any relationship that we're in, any friendship, whatever type of relationship we're in, that's an opportunity for us to see, like, not just the other person's view, but almost like, well, what is this mirroring back for me? Like, if I'm triggered about something with this person, chances are that's my stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a really good opportunity. And yeah, letting go of that control. And, that's one of the biggest roadblocks I think that I've seen most entrepreneurs, especially photographers and things like that, learn to let go a little bit and hire the right people to do these things that aren't going to move your business forward and that you can give away pretty easily, right? Yeah. It's just that we think we can't. Right. And I trust me, I was in the same boat. Like, for years, I was like, I can't ever give that away. I can't hire someone to like help me with that. Like, oh my God, why not? Right. And so now that I do have help with certain things, it's addictive. Yeah. It's like, what else can I give away? So that I can like really do what I love to do. That's the whole point. So I love that you're doing that. And there's ways to get around it. Like, there's ways to make it work and not make it feel like, well, because the biggest thing that most people say, right, is that, well, to hire somebody, that means I have to stop and have to train them and have to do all the things. It's like, no, you could put some things into place now so that when you are ready to hire someone, you already have the content. Start filming yourself doing all the stuff that you already do. Just screen record yourself in voicing, screen record yourself editing, screen record whatever, and just put it into a folder for now. And then when you do find the right person, here's this folder of all the things that I would like you to do. I've been training you for the last 3 years. You just didn't even know
it. Right. And to bring Boxer back, right? Because we love Boxer. Even recording yourself there on all the things that you do and then inviting that person to the Boxer later. I mean, it might be a lot for them to listen to, but tell them to go for a walk and listen. But, one of the other things too is that not everyone has a business. And so all of the things that you're mentioning for business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives also apply to our lives. There are plenty of things that we could be outsourcing. You do not need to be the end all be all for everyone around you. It is okay at this stage of your life to put yourself on the list, to make yourself a priority. And when I see women do that, imagine like a world where we're all elevating ourselves to at least being on the list, right? To being a priority in our own lives, to showing up, to speaking up, to sparkling in the way. That's one of my words this year. Sparkle is like, sparkle in the way only you know how to. Imagine how powerful, like, that shift. I already feel the shift with women, and I know it's a universal thing that's happening. But when we uplift each other and we empower each other to show up as exactly who we are, even if those people aren't like, we don't have to be best friends, right? We can still support and encourage each other in this way. And I just think that nothing will stop us.
I agree. 100%.
Makes me happy.
I know. Me too. I love it. Because I think we've lived so long without that. So I think it's a good time for this.
It is a great time. So I want to talk a little bit about my new program, Aligned on Purpose.
I know. I'm so excited.
You are one of my guest coaches in the program. In one of the bonus areas. Like, you've been so thoughtful and generous to come into the program and help women. So can we talk a little bit about receiving? Because you're going to be teaching that in week 2 of the program as a bonus call. And so what mistakes are we making when it comes to receiving? Like, first of all, why do women find it so difficult to receive compliments? Actually, like, we don't negotiate. We don't,
Well, I think that goes along with the programming that we were talking about before. I mean, I think that, and not everybody, like, you know what I mean? But I do think it's sort of universal, and probably, over 40 specifically. But I do think that it's because of just kind of the way that we've been taught to be. Like, we've been taught to, and not maybe heavy-handed. It might be like an unconscious thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different ways you can learn, right? But I do think that receiving in general is an issue for a lot of women, especially women our age, because we do, right? Like, we do for everyone. And we don't even know that we're like going overboard with that. We just want to be good to our families. Like, it's from a good intention. It's from a good place. We want to like make sure our kids are happy and safe. And I'm a special needs mom too. And like, so, you know what I mean? I think like you get like really wrapped up in like, well, what else can I do for my family? And make sure everybody's safe, make sure everyone's, you know, got everything that they need. And for me, it's part of my personality too. Like I love, like, my love language is acts of service, which I probably think a lot of women is, but I know for sure mine is, because when my husband does the dishes, I'm like, okay, now we're talking.
Chore play.
You know what I mean? and he's great with all that stuff too. But like, that's a thing, right? Like, when acts of service, like, I love doing things for other people. I love, like, just in general. But I think as women, we tend to go down the rabbit hole of that. And then at some point we start really neglecting ourselves.
Yeah.
And maybe not, I'm not talking about physically, although sometimes that can be part of it. I'm talking about mentally, like, what do we really want? And so, like you said before, you get to a place and you realize, like, am I living a life that I actually really designed myself? Or maybe I designed it like 15 years ago with the intention of like doing all these things for my family. And now I don't even know what I want. Like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what my identity is outside of my kids. I don't know, like, do I even like what I do? Do I even like my job? Do I even, you know what I mean? Like, you start to really question all these different things about your identity because you've put it into other people. So the receiving part, I think, is really important for women to be reminded of, is that it's part of manifestation. It's part, if you want to get kind of, you know, woo, it's part of the laws of the universe. It's part of, you know, getting what you want. I think that we've been taught also to just push.
Yeah.
And
hustle.
Get what we want. Hustle. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, you can only hustle your way so far until you burn yourself out completely, because not only, you know, now you've done everything for everybody else, and then you've hustled, and then you've, like, you know, hustled your way into like an autoimmune disease or whatever. And now you're like, oh, okay, well, now what? So receiving. And one of the first things I ask women is like, how do you take compliments? And like you said before, like, how do you, like, if someone compliments you and says that, you know, either you look nice or great business or whatever you're doing, does it, like, do you get like a, you know what I mean? Like, do you get like a weird feeling when that happens?
You put that Teflon up.
Yeah. Do you get like really Gen X defensive, or, you know, like, or do you go, thank you? You know what I mean? Like, does it sink in? And so that's a really good indicator to know, like, where you're at just in general with like receiving, because that's receiving in general. Like, you can't receive all the things that the universe has for you and wants for you if you're not open to it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about with receiving, is like opening up that we all have a masculine and feminine side. It's just polarity. It's just how we're all built. And so I feel like opening up to a feminine, and I'm not talking about frou-frou stuff. I mean, like, I'm talking about, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about like getting way off the deep end. You have to know what's right for you, like who you are, what feels good for you, but just opening up to this flow and like allowing the goodness to come to you, and allowing people to come into your world, and allowing abundance to come into your world. It makes a big difference, not just in the manifestation of those things, but in also your identity and like getting you that self-awareness. I see it all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, how many times I've lived it before, right?
Yeah.
I teach what I
definitely
know. They say to teach what you know. I know this stuff because I've lived it, in that, like, the universe trying to give opportunity, trying to provide, you know, abundance, trying to provide a lot of different amazing things. And, you know, sometimes we feel unworthy of those things, so we block it, right? It's like
most of the time,
like we're superheroes blocking all the beautiful things coming to us because we're afraid. We tell ourselves stories, you know, we don't feel worthy. There's so many different reasons. But there's no better time right now. There's like a reboot of the universe right now. And it's like, you don't have to go back to where you were 2 years ago, 1 year ago. This is a brand new time. Like, there will never be a time like this time right now to do what you want. And if you don't know what you want, that's okay too.
That's
because
okay,
there are ways to figure that out.
Yeah. And that's what you're so good at. You're so good at helping people figure out what they want like that. And not like giving them the answers. Like I said, it's just about pulling it out, like, or showing it, shining a light on it. You're just really good at helping women, especially at this phase of their lives, really reflect on that and understand. And then also, because you're you, give them those strategies to be like, okay, here's the deal, you know? And so that it's both parts of that, which I think is really cool. You know what I mean? Because it does have to be an all encompassing thing. You can't just, it's nice to say like, oh, I think you'd be great at this, or I think, you know what I mean? Like, or like, let's help you remember, but then what? Like, right? Like, so you actually complete that process, which is why your program is so badass. Can I say that on Instagram?
You know, I think a lot of people think that they need to know the how off the bat, right? So if you ask somebody a question like, what would you like to do? And they're like, well, how do I do that?
I don't know how.
It doesn't matter how, right? Like, let's figure out what it is and why you want it. The how, it's miraculous how the how shows up, right? The how is 100%. Just taking action, small, imperfect action, but it's really the what and the why that people are not paying attention to.
If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you open Google Maps, like, you got to have a destination to put in, right? So if you don't know what your destination is, you're going to keep spinning that wheel and thinking about, how am I going to get there? How am I going to get there? There's 12 different. Well, once you know what you want, that clarity of who do I want to be? Like, what version of myself do I want to spend the next 20 years living? Like, that's like, you know, like, what does that look like? What does it feel like in my body? Like, when I think about this highest version of myself and my highest expression, you know, what version of me, what does she do? Right? Like, what does she do every day? What kind of habits does she have? What does she value? How does she feel when she goes to bed at night? How does she sleep? You know, all of these like little intricate details about that. And then you pull it into your universe. That's compressing time. And it's 100% possible. You just have to believe it. And that's really part of the game. It's like, you know, I see a lot of people, not just photographers, but, you know, creative entrepreneurs in general, as you do as well, who they talk a lot about wanting to change, or like they will, you know, kind of vent about all these different things that are wrong. And they, you know, but I can't do it. Because they don't know how. They think they need to get the how first, but really what has to happen is they have to be willing to change. They have to be willing to be someone different, not like changing a personality, but be that highest version of themselves.
Right. And
that takes that is hard for a lot of people, but it's amazing when you see someone
so good
do that and you get to witness that. It's really cool.
To become that person who's capable and open to receiving all of the amazing things life has to offer is just, you know, so I want to be respectful of your time. I want to invite anyone who's feeling like, I got to make a change. I got to do the thing. Like, I have this new program. It's called Aligned on Purpose. I love it. Extensively with Renee on this program. Not only did I have it already, I brought it to her because you have been doing this for a long time. We went through it with a fine tooth comb. We came up with like exercises and, you know, a process that will help women really uncover what's in there. That magic that you've been like pushing down and covering up with all the things that you're doing for everyone else. And so it's 6 weeks. It's live. It's not something you're going to put on a shelf because
it's live.
It's live. It's me. It's only 10 women because I want to be able to say, hey, this is what you're struggling with. I'm going to check on you. I know who you are. I'm not,
and the power of that group is going to be amazing too. Like the people drawn to this. That's what's so exciting about it, is that you're going to get not just Jackie and all this insight, but you get this group, and that's what's so important too.
Absolutely. You know, what's wild is that I've done groups in the past, and to watch them support each other even years later.
I know.
On social media, and see that they're friends on social media and that they're each other's cheerleaders, and you know, it's such an incredible, there's nothing more powerful. And that's what I always say to people is like, sure, it's 50% I show up. It's actually 20% I show up and I teach you what you need and ask the right questions. But 80% is this camaraderie and this community and this power behind women empowering other women. It's just, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
You can't even describe it.
And you've built in like accountability even within the group, which I think is genius. So I'm excited to see how that plays out as well, because that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, I'm so happy to have your expertise in as a bonus session. Also, I have another bonus session with StrengthsFinder, where, you know, we'll give you your top 5 strengths, and you'll be able to see what those are, with Jenny Ketchapaw, who's like a phenomenal StrengthsFinder coach. And so I'm really, really excited. The link is in the bio to check it out. And it's really this, of all the things that I do, this is the thing.
And you do a lot.
And I do a lot.
You're
this
everywhere.
Is the thing that fires me up in a way, because I see the ripple effect. The ripple effect of women who go through programs like this, who then bring it into their own lives. They have better relationships. They have better, you know, better family dynamics. Some can let things go that maybe they were holding on to. Like, it's just a phenomenal thing. And so my goal is just to empower one woman empowers so many.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So thank you, Renee. I'm excited to.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited, and I'm excited to speak to the group and everybody. If any of my people are here, you guys definitely go check out this grown-ass woman. She's the real deal, and check out her program because it's awesome. So I'm excited for you.
Thank you, Renee. So let's talk about this opportunity. If you're still listening at this point, you are very, very likely ready to make some changes in your life, to take a leap, to be held accountable, to meet other women who want similar powerful things in their own lives. And if that is true, I would like to invite you to my new program called Aligned on Purpose. First of all, why did I call it Aligned on Purpose? Because I am so tired of hustle culture and this idea that we need to constantly be busy to be valuable. And so Aligned on Purpose for me is doing work and living in a way that is impactful, that doesn't require more effort just for the sake of more effort, and is aligned with who we are right now and not a former version of ourselves. And so imagine you start to access your own voice, today's voice, and you begin to listen to it for the first time in a long time. You find clarity on your purpose. I know they're buzzwords, but we all have purpose or purposes inside of us. Sometimes it gets a little cloudy and we're not exactly sure what our purpose is right now. I will help you find it. You'll stop making apologies, looking for permission from everyone else, and start finding it and getting it from yourself. And you'll see yourself as someone who is important, who deserves love and validation, and who deserves to be on the top of your list. I would love to get aligned on purpose with you. This program is 6 weeks, online, live class. There's no DIY videos. There's no on your own time, put it on a shelf, it gets dusty. It is you, it is me, it is 9 other women alongside you, and we're going to cover so many amazing things. Week 1, we uncover your purpose. We focus on why, something that seems so easy and that many of us struggle with. Week 2, you'll figure out, what do you really want? I have exercises to help you do that. Week 3, we make a plan. How do you get there to that thing that you really want? Week 4, we're going to uncover obstacles. We're not only going to uncover them, we're going to obliterate obstacles and also find out how to delegate and to get support that you need. Week 5, we start building habits that will last you a lifetime. And week 6, we celebrate all the victories. Now, I'll tell you right now, getting coached by me is probably 20% of the value. And that's not me saying I'm not worthy or valuable, but 80% of this program is the other women who show up, who support you, who hold your hand, who challenge you, who are your greatest cheerleaders. And how do I know this? Because this program is application only. I am so super specific on who I want to work with and who would be best for this group of 10 incredible women. Oh, by the way, there are bonuses. Did I not mention the bonuses? Renee Bowen, who you just heard from, teaches us the importance and the art of receiving in her powerful workshop. And Jenny Ketchapaw, Strengths Finder Coach Extraordinaire, will walk us through our strengths and help us live and do the work that is aligned with those top 5 strengths. And, drum roll please, you will also be featured on the Grown Ass Woman's Guide podcast and YouTube channel. I mean, come on, that's priceless. We all know that, right? Like I said, this is application only. It is only open to 10 women, and the doors are totally closed Sunday, April 24th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. If you are thinking about joining us, if you are thinking about grabbing your spot in this incredible, powerful live group coaching opportunity, there's a link in the show notes to the application. I would love to hear from you and help you blow the lid off this next chapter of your life. All right? So check out the show description now, click on the link, apply, and we will talk. Thanks for listening to this bonus episode of the Grown Ass Woman's Guide. Until next time, you are a grown ass woman. Act accordingly. Spring has sprung, and with the change of seasons, sometimes comes an increase in vitality. If you're feeling in the mood for a little more personal time, may I suggest Coconut. Coconut is all about providing clean and natural ingredients when you're enjoying your most intimate moments, with or without a partner. Naturally safe products developed by people who are obsessed with quality. Get 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Coconut. That's 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Coconut.